Some girls, when they're young, play house, making dinner for a family and carrying around a doll that they later rock to sleep, honing their skills to use on the real child they'll have one day. Me? I played office. Specifically, I played female CEO of Fortune 500 company with a corner office in a Manhattan high-rise, where I pretended to wheel and deal and appear on the cover of various magazines for my genius. Sometimes there was a husband in this scenario, sometimes not, but there was never a baby. For me, the idea of motherhood was riddled with ambivalence. When I was 6 years old, my mother, who suffered from depression and alcoholism, took her own life. 3 years later, my father remarried to a woman who had been in the psych ward with my mother at the same time, where they made potholders together and art therapy. Not exactly the kind of background that makes you want to throw away your birth control pills and begin procreating. In my mind, motherhood translated to sadness and overwhelm, to the point where the only solution was to escape it permanently. Attachment, especially the kind between mother and child, was literally akin to death, which is why I avoided it and instead set off to become as independent and self-sufficient as I could. I did achieve the kind of career success I've dreamed of in childhood, not just once, but twice. First as a Hollywood executive, and then as a New York author. With a life full of friends and travel, my movies and books became my babies. Sitting at the computer at 3 a.m. typing away was my version of nursing. I was child-free, and I was fine with it, until I met the man who would become my husband. I was in New Orleans producing a movie, and our romance was fast and furious. Louis was handsome and smart and funny, but most of all, he was kind and humble. About 2 weeks into it, the two of us watched a little girl at breakfast. As I looked at him, a voice deep inside of me said, "You're going to have a child with this man." Despite the fact that I lived in New York and was about to turn 44, ancient in fertility terms, there was an inevitability to the words and a powerful feeling that it would come to pass. Even after the high of being newly in love wore off, the desire to have a child grew. Maybe it was the years of therapy I had racked up, or the fact that I had finally met the right guy. Maybe it was finally getting to a point where I was no longer letting the story of my childhood define me. Whatever it was, my desire to be a mother took over. I approached getting pregnant with the same type A drive that had served me in my work. I Googled. I ordered books off Amazon. I took my basal temperature. I checked my cervical mucus. I took herbs. I prayed. I carried fertility totems. I went for acupuncture. I tried everything that was suggested, and I failed over and over and over again. For good or for bad, failure was not something I had a lot of experience with. My self-will and tenacity had served me well over the years, and experience had shown me that if I just worked hard enough, I could succeed at whatever I set out to achieve. Although I knew intellectually that the odds of getting pregnant at my age with ancient eggs were as slim as going through a Louisiana summer without humidity, having to admit defeat each time an IUI or IVF didn't take was a bitter pill to swallow. Obviously, adoption was a possibility, but I really wanted the experience of carrying a child, and my husband and I wanted our child to be of us in some way. When the idea of donor eggs came up, we didn't hesitate. I knew women who had used them, and across the board, they said that the moment they held their children, they were unequivocally theirs. Looking through the donors on the clinic's website was like perusing Match.com to find someone for my husband to sleep with. Just when I had given up hope that we'd ever find one we remotely liked, we found the perfect donor, at least our perfect donor. In June, I got pregnant on the first try. As I write this, I'm a week away from giving birth to my daughter. Despite the fact that I have yet to nurse her at 3 a.m. like I used to with my books, I am already her mother. I became her mother at the moment when, during her 20-week ultrasound, she hiccuped, and I was overcome with an overpowering primal impulse to reach inside and soothe her. I will always be her mother, even on the days I'm sad or overwhelmed. And I know with every fiber of my being that I will not follow in my mother's footsteps. Some days I wonder why it took me so long to get here. I look on Facebook and I see photos of friends sending their children off to high school or college while I'm obsessing about what my milk supply will be like. But then I think about divine timing and how I couldn't imagine being with anyone but my husband. And I definitely couldn't imagine raising a child without him. There are blessings that come with being an older mother, such as hard-earned wisdom that can only be amassed over time and experience. And for good or for bad, I have that in spades.